Welcome everyone to the Gnucash tutorial. In this tutorial, you will learn how to create, save, and do other stuff with Gnucash. To create a new account, go to File, New File, and then follow the Gnucash account hierarchy setup. For the new book options, you do not have to worry about any of these tabs unless you run a business, in which case you will want to fill out most of the fields for under business, and depending on whether or not you are coming from a different accounting software, you may also want to change the numbers in the counters section. You will also want to select trading accounts. If, however, you are not running a business, you can leave all of these at the defaults and click on Forward. Okay, so you are now at the account creation section. You can choose what accounts you want to have. For example, if you just want to do a simple checkbook, you can select a simple checkbook, and that's all you really need. If you want to have your business accounts, you can select business accounts. Car loan for car loan, CD and money markets for if you have CDs and money market accounts. If you have children, you can also select childcare expenses. Common accounts are what most people will want to have. Education loan is useful for those who have educational loans. Fixed assets are useful for those who have fixed assets such as houses or vehicles. Home mortgages are for those who have a home mortgage. Then you have homeowners expenses, investment accounts, other loans, renter expenses, useful if you rent, retirement accounts, if you have accounts for retirement. If you have a spouse, you can also have spousal accounts and spousal retirement accounts. For now, I will select only the common accounts, because it will cover most categories that you will need. Everything from taxes to utilities, gifts to salary. Once you have decided which accounts you want, you can go ahead and hit Forward. At this point in time, you can choose what the opening balance for your various accounts are. For example, if you start out with, say, $20,000 in checking account, click over here and then type in 20,000. Most people, however, probably aren't going to start out with 20,000. So I'll go ahead and put that down as 200. Savings account, you can also choose what you want to start out with in your savings account. I would, however, recommend that you input what you actually have in your savings account, which in many cases is likely to be 0 or something very low, say $25. Remember, to change the opening balance of something, double-click, double left-click, and then type in the amount that you want to start out with, that you have, is what you really should enter. And then, something to keep in mind is once you finish typing something in, hit Enter, and then hit Forward. And then hit Apply, and then find somewhere to save it. For example, you may want to create a new folder called Gnucash, and then save it as something. In this case, we will call it Test. Now, okay, let's say that we were just working, and we just made, say, $400 working. You can go to the checking account, left-click to open, and then enter the date. For example, you might want to use, this may be in May, and you can say, hey, salary, and then you can transfer from income, salary, deposit $400. Now, in this case, you'll notice that there's a blue line here. That indicates that everything before that blue line is a transaction that has already occurred. Everything after the blue line is a transaction that has not yet occurred. If I were to go back here and then modify the date, back to the 12th, and go back over in tab, it will ask me if I want to change the current transaction. Go ahead and hit record changes if you made a mistake and are correcting it. You'll notice that the blue line no longer exists. This means that you don't have any future transactions scheduled. Okay, let's say that you went out and with that $600 in your checking account, you were to get a computer. You could then do expenses, and then you can scroll through here, and oh look, computer. And then you can say, okay, I spent $600 on that computer. Okay, you know that in 2 weeks you're going to get another salary. So if you type in salary and then hit tab, you'll notice that it fills in with your previous deposit. This is because in many cases you'll be earning the same amount of money every, say, 2 weeks. So that happened. You also know that in 2 weeks' time you're going to, say, get gas. So you would then use expenses, auto, gas. And depending on whether or not you fill up, it can cost as much as, say, $70. Those two transactions are both scheduled. You can also take a look at your income and expenses. So you can look at cash flow, for example, if you're interested in that sort of thing. So you can take a look here and see where this money is coming from. Now you have $250 from your opening balances, and you have $800 from your income. But then you spent $70 on gas and $600 on a new computer. And so you now have $380. You can also create a scheduled transaction by selecting a transaction and then hitting schedule. And you can choose the frequency, which is probably going to be, depending on what it is, monthly. In this case, I'm doing a salary. So, well, weekly, I don't want weekly, bi-weekly. Okay, bi-weekly in this case is what you want. And then you can hit OK, and you'll have a salary that comes in bi-weekly. So you can also create a new budget. In order to do that, go to Actions, Budget, New Budget, and then you can go through and determine what you need. So to budget, say, $100 per month for gasoline, you would click on the plus button next to expenses, left click on the plus button next to auto, and then double click on the month that you are interested in. and then enter, for example, $100. And you can do that for each month if it is a fairly constant type deal, and so on. If you have fees, and say you pay them once yearly, and it's, say, $20 for license plates, which it isn't, but let's assume it is, and let's assume that you spend $50 on parking fees. And then let's also say that you put aside $100 every month for repair and maintenance of your vehicle. And if you want to, you can enter everything for every month. It does not appear that they currently have an easy method for copying and pasting from one month to the next. And then, to account for income, go from expenses, hit the minus sign next to expenses, then click the plus sign next to income, and then go to salary. Let's say you get $400. Actually, let's go with $800 every month. So 800, 800, 800, and 800. If I can type. So, based off of that, you have $530 to spend every month on something else, at least for April in this case. But you also should go through and figure out how much you spend on books, on cable, on charity, on clothes, on food, on entertainment. So let's say you spend $200 a month on food. So 200, 200, 200, and 200. Now let's say that you decided not to get insurance, which is technically illegal if you have a vehicle, which I am assuming that you do have. But for now, I will assume that you don't have auto insurance or health insurance, both of which you now legally have to have. You also have medical expenses that you may want to set aside, say, $100 every month for, but you should go through and determine how much you spend everywhere else. Once you have filled everything in that you know you have to spend money on, you can look and hit estimate and hit OK. You should then save this budget and hit close. You can also set up online banking. To do so, click on Tools and then Online Banking Setup. How you do this will depend on your bank. Go ahead and click on Start AC Banking Wizard, and then click on Create User. Next, depending on what bank you use, you may want to either use OFX or HBCI. OFX is often used by Quicken. You can go ahead and hit Run, and then follow the dialog Setup. Enter your bank name. So, for example, you can hit Select, and then start typing in your bank name. For example, West. Let's say that I use Bank of the West, but you can also scroll through and see if your bank is on there. If your bank is not on there, then it is likely that they do not use OFX. You can then go ahead and hit Next, and then it will ask you to enter your username, your user ID, and your client UID. I am now going to hit Abort because I have none of those things for this particular bank. However, once you have gone through that, you can import your transactions from the bank. So you can go to Actions, Online Transactions, and then Get Transactions. Thank you for following me through this Gnucash introduction. Have a good day, and thank you.